travel about 30 k's east of Kew, and we come to an old town called, it's a ghost town called Big Bell. Actually, Big Bell could be the hotel, but I think the town was called Big Bell. And this town was created in the 1800s because of the gold here. And we just sort of turned off the first street, and there's a big old hotel here that used to be operational, and the footprint of all the old houses. But as we drive along, I'll show you some of the photos and some of the pictures of where people used to live. By gee, it's pretty remote out here. And so let's go, and we'll go and have a bit of a look and see what's around town. It's one of the locals. On the right here you see all the little concrete pads of all the houses used to be. Only tiny little houses, and I'm sure that back in those days they were just tin shacks. Would have been hard living. I'd say this would be the old water supply here. Possibly would have been some old windmills here pumping water up to those tanks years ago. But starting to see a few other old buildings there, so let's go and have a bit of a look. It's funny when you travel all over Australia, doesn't matter where you go, there's always an old church. And here is one of those old churches. You can see the shape of the old windows. And every community had a spiritual home, so to speak. Praise the Lord, little altar at the top there. What used to be a cross, maybe. You can just see a little congregation sitting in here years ago. And here comes someone now. You're a bit late for the meeting, dear. They were left 200 years ago. You know, when you drive through here and you look at all this stuff, we might look at it as rubbish, but once upon a time it belonged to somebody. It had a purpose. And you look all these little dusty streets, never had bitumen. You can kind of see and imagine all the old little horse and carts and all the miners here with their families. And yeah, it's quite amazing really. We'll go over there and see what that building's about. Well, this is the site where this family, we're just reading the sign here, talks about the Blacklock family residence, 69 Patton Street, Big Bell. And they came here in 1938 and lived here for some time until the war broke out. And I think Bob went into the Air Force and went away to war. But they kind of moved away from the area back to Armidale, and then they came back after the war. And Bob used to work in the power station here that sort of gave the little town here some electricity and things. And everyone remained here, but it says that the closure of the mine was in the 22nd of February 1955, and so the little town died and everyone packed up and left. But yeah, very interesting. Well, here we are, possibly one of the houses that was made out of stone. A lot of them were tin out this way, but this one had a little fireplace and what used to be the roof. Wow, look at this. Wow, little cottage. You'll probably find it, this was the one-room cottage. A little bed. This is probably similar to how it would have been. And this is where he lived in one room. Quite amazing. Well, here we have another site. It's called St Celia's Covenant School. And this school was opened in 1948. And the little town was built for really 60 students. And but anyway, as the production of the Big Bell mine waned in the early 1950s, the population of the town fell and the school became redundant. In 1954, the nuns that worked here closed the school and went back to Geraldton to live. And the building was re-erected in Geraldton and was part of the Stella Maris College complex in 1989, where it was demolished. But just behind here, you know, while there's nothing here now, but this is where the old school used to be. And yeah, it's just an important part of history, and it's good to remember those things. Wow. Now listen, how's this for a toilet? It's a beauty. Sitting out here in the old days on the old Thunderbox. Imagine look how it's all just been strung together. Oh, that's cool. See, they put it under a tree, possibly for a bit of shade. Over across here is where more houses used to be. Well, we're going to have a look at the main event, which is the old hotel. It's funny, in the gold towns, it's really, I think, the people that sold gold mining equipment and the people that owned a hotel that at the end of the day made the most money and out of everything. And I'm sure plenty of gold miners that left this town, they probably never ever, they dreamed of becoming wealthy, and they probably barely made a living, and never really achieved much in life at all, I suppose. Well, here we have a bit of history about Big Bell. It says in 1935, November 1935, Premier Gold Mining Company announced that it would develop a mining operation at Big Bell. An agreement with the state government in March 1936 to build a railway from Kew to the mine lease signalled the birth of Big Bell Township, and it grew and boasted a population of 850 people. Over here some beautiful old photos, and this is what Big Bell looked like in its heyday, and that'll give you an idea of what the little town looked like. And over here is a bore that used to reticulate water out to the town. Obviously some of the people that worked in the hotel, and men hard at work, and well, what an interesting place. But I'll step back, and this is like the front of the old hotel, and what a grand old place it is. And think about all the stories and tales that have been told and talked about in this place. But by Gee, it's a certainly majestic building for something being built back in those times. This sign says that the main street of Big Bell was named after the Townsend family. They were pastoralists who settled on a nearby Cootadadi station before the 1900. The Townsends helped the prospectors, and it is said that some owed their lives to these pioneers of the district. But here's this beautiful hotel, what it looked like. I was hoping I'd find a picture like this, but just check it out. I'd love, you know, all these people in their dresses and men out in the hot desert with their suits and their hats. It's quite amazing. And this here is the Big Bell railway station, and that was first commenced in 1936. And the shopping area of Townsend Street, where people used to come and do their shopping and get their foods, a little chemist and news agency. Wow, what amazing. Absolutely amazing. Well, as you can see, it's a bit of an overcast day today, and let me give you a tip. Out in the desert wind, it's pretty chilly, so we've got the hat on, got the glasses on. Always wear glasses. Always find sometimes when it's overcast day it's kind of glary, and so I like to wear my old sunnies and check things out. But maybe let's go and have a look in this old building and check things out. Well, this would have been a grand room. A couple of fireplaces, if you can imagine, you know, probably big leather chairs sit here, people talking and telling stories about finding gold and all these things. And you look at this little fireplace, how many stories of miners. They sat around the fire on cold nights talking about what they found through the day and just life back in the 1900s, probably late 1800s really. It's truly really good being here. Well, I'd say these would be the little rooms. I'd say there's possibly beautiful windows here once upon a time. And then you come into these rooms from that doorway over there and look out those windows. Well, look, you think about all these These water tanks have stood the test of time. Obviously they're a bit rusted out, but they've stood the test of time. Sat up there, look at that old timber. Things have just been there for years and years. And over here, I'd say that they even had air conditioning back then. How incredible is that? You know, it's possible here was part of a, who knows, could have been a beer garden. People obviously just sat outside. I'd say there would have been a fence surrounding the property, and you come out here and have a beer at the end of the day.